Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Tampa Bay Real Producers Podcast. This, of course, is the podcast that is made for real producers, by real producers, and with none other than Tampa Bay's real producers. It's also powered by Top Producers Nation, where we help agents become top producers in whatever their desired markets are across the country. So today, our guest is Mr. Adam Morejon. How you doing, brother?
Good, man.
Yeah,
thank you for having me.
Good to have you here, no doubt. Adam is, if you see here right in the front, Adam was our cover spotlight for the July 2024 issue in Tampa Bay Real Producers. We got to dive into his story, which we're going to do now. Adam is the team leader with eXp Realty and has been done some great things online. He has a great following on YouTube that we'll talk about. So why don't we start a little bit just with your background, Adam, for people who might not know you that well. I know you mentioned off camera that you grew up here in Tampa, so we'll start there. Eventually, what are some of the things that you did before getting into real estate? Because I know you've done some hustles you were talking about. Yeah. And eventually, how did you get yourself interested in real estate? We'll start there.
Yeah, so thank you for having me.
Yeah.
So 4 generations deep. So when somebody says, oh, you familiar with Tampa? It's like, yes, this was my playground for a very, very long time.
Yep.
Right? You know, growing up, my dad has owned a restaurant, Le Tom Restaurant, 50 years in Tampa. It's kind of an old school restaurant. And then we shut down. I went to catering now. But, you know, growing up in that atmosphere, there's anybody that knows hospitality business, that is a hustle. It's a,
yeah.
You know, you have to put in a ton of effort.
Most people think it's one of the hardest businesses you can get in.
It is. It's one of them. But aside from that, my dad always had side hustles too, right? We had a hay business. Along the way, we used to deliver fish to a lot of the different restaurants around Tampa, buy it in bulk, and then that'll bring our price down, things like that. One of the ventures...
Slinging fish.
Yeah. Fish boy in college, right?
There you go.
Always smelling like it, kind of.
Did you go to USF? Or?
I went to USF, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, now, one of the biggest... I guess hustles or businesses, not even a hustle, it's a business that we had was a Hog Wild Mud Run, which was people running through obstacle courses, kind of like Tough Mudder.
Nice.
And we got it up to a little over 3,000 runners per event.
Nice.
And we do about 4 a year. And this was pretty big. It lasted 5 years in Tampa.
Was this in school or when you were done with school?
No, this is after school.
Okay.
Yeah. And that was great until there was 2 mud runs every other weekend, and it got a little crazy. And I said, if it's not profitable,
all these darn copycats out there, man.
Yep.
You know.
But I will tell you, it's kind of crazy because my dad was doing catering. I was in that business a little bit. At that time, I was getting ready, you know, getting married. My wife is like, "Man, you guys are coming home at 4 a.m."
Yeah.
Because catering, you know, weddings at night. You're prepping for the next day because you got 3 weddings on a weekend. So kind of long story short there, it's like, man, I think I need a different life. Lifestyle needs to change. You can't, the hospitality business can wear on you.
Yeah.
And when you're planning to have kids, you're getting married, you know, that's part of the new path. So that's really where it led me to real estate.
Okay.
So funny thing is that we went to real estate. I was still doing the mud run stuff. My dad had the catering business, and CMT, so Country Music Television, back when they had the reality shows, called us and said, hey, can we film at your event? We've got our reality show, that Summer House or whatever it was called, that wants to be there. We said, yeah. From that event, they actually wanted to hire us and do a reality show on our family.
Wow.
Because of all the different businesses we were doing, you know, basically following all of it.
The restaurant, the mudder, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, we shot a pilot for it. So we actually went down that road. And then my wife probably talk some good sense. She's like, you probably don't need that. You know, reality shows like to bring a lot of negativity out. It just, is it really going to help us? And
you know, they're going to want to get drama somehow tied into this.
Yes. Yeah. And I was like, you know, you're probably the smart one here. So let's just go ahead and trust you. But yeah, that just led me into real estate. And then
so was there anyone in your family that was in real estate, or was there an interest already at some point because of it, or what was it about real estate that you were interested in?
Yeah, so I was an economics major at USF.
Okay.
Always loved studying the markets, anything from stock market to real estate. And my uncle, George Morejon, was actually a successful agent at Keller Williams at the time. And, you know, he kind of took me under his wing, and he said, if you want to learn it, I'll teach it to you. I won't take you away from your dad's business, but I'll teach it to you.
Cool.
So went down that route.
What year did you get licensed?
2014.
Okay.
January, I believe.
I was curious, too, about your dad's restaurant. Was it COVID that caused him to close it down, or was it before that?
Oh, no. Yeah.
Before that.
He technically just shifted. He didn't close down. He shifted
to catering.
Catering. You know, people started asking for weddings because we were since 1995. So in the 50s, we were on Columbus and Armenia, but in the 90s, we went to the Centro Studiano, which is a building in Ybor City.
Okay.
All right. Downstairs, it was massive. We had a ballroom. We used
Is that near the Columbia restaurant anywhere in that area?
It's right off of Palm in Nebraska.
Okay.
People know it because they see the black iron gates, and it's like a 2-acre lot.
Gotcha.
Right there off of 7th. And so, but it has a ballroom. It has a theater.
Nice.
A lot of people would have, we actually had concerts there.
Nice.
So that's another side thing we did. Toby Keith, Tom Petty, like pretty good acts. And so it just got to the point where, do you remember The Punisher that was filmed in Tampa with John Travolta? Mm-hmm. They shut us down for 2 weeks and filmed the casino scene in our restaurant.
Okay.
And it was just, I don't know, we just kept getting all of these events. And in the business, it's like if somebody pays you for an entire night, you know what you're getting paid. That's a lot easier than running a every night, restaurant business. And if it rains, people don't show up, you still have the overhead. Right. So he just decided, after 50 years, let's shift to catering.
Okay.
And
so you still cater out of that venue?
No. So we're out of that venue. He actually bought a warehouse. So we've had a warehouse now about 10 years.
Gotcha.
Off of 7th and 37th.
Okay.
In Ybor.
And so your uncle, you said it was in the game in real estate.
Still is.
So he was kind of the guy that mentored you along, and you said he was with KW at the time. Yep. And so you got yourself licensed and dove in. Were you going full time right away, or were you still kind of balancing all these other things to try to figure out real estate, or what was that first year like for you?
Yeah, no, I jumped ship, went straight into real estate.
Okay.
And he was kind of an old school, he is an old school realtor.
Sure.
We were from here, people, get out there and meet people.
Yeah.
He's like, the gold mine is right in your phone.
Yep.
Right. Build a sphere of influence. That is the old tried and true best method of leads for real estate. So
especially if you grew up in this area and you just got to tap into that market, right?
Yep. And I'll tell you, the first 2 years I was learning real estate. Mm-hmm. It took me, I think year 1 I made 38,000. Year 2 I made 42,000.
Crushing it.
Keep in mind, I also,
and it's funny though, because I think, unfortunately, that's why a lot of agents never make it right to year 3 and 4 and 5 is they come in with these certain expectations that they're going to be making 6 figures right away and it's going to be easy.
Yeah.
And that makes it challenging when you realize, it takes some real work, especially if maybe you haven't had a background in actually like generating your own leads before and building an entrepreneurship type business, which is what real estate is.
Yeah.
It's a whole different game changer for a lot of people.
Yeah. But I will say that mindset matters. And he sat me down going into the next year and he's like, hey, you asked me to be your mentor.
Yeah.
If you do the same thing that you're doing, you should just quit. And I said, what do you mean? He's like, yeah, you need to think bigger. He's like, let's set some goals for you. And I was like, all right. So he said, what's your goal? And I was like, man, if I could make 70,000, that'd be great. Mm-hmm. He's like, I said, set a goal, get bigger. I said, okay, 6 figures. Not too many of my friends make 100,000 back then. So he goes, okay, double it. I said, 200,000. I don't know too many people in 2016 that made 200,000. Mm-hmm. And he says, well, work backwards. So now that you know your goal, work backwards, figure out how many leads you need, how many people you need to meet, calls you need to make, et cetera, every day. And I said, okay. And all sphere of influence.
Yep.
No crazy marketing.
Yep.
I said, okay. And that year I made 212,000.
Nice, man. And how that was your third year in?
Third year in.
Okay. So that was definitely a jump year for you, huh?
Yeah, it was a massive
and it all stems from that one conversation. So that's what got it started?
It was that one conversation and building the habits to be able to make that happen. From that, what I learned is that if you expand your mind, it's hard to go backwards, right?
Yep.
Once you know that you can achieve, let's call it 200,000, making 48,000 wasn't going to happen again.
Yeah.
And it was almost like I can't go back to those habits. It's not that easy. So
there's 2 quotes that I think about in your story. One is, a mind once stretched never regains its original form. I don't know who said it, but it's something I remember hearing years ago.
Yeah.
And then another one is this idea that, that one just slept me. I'll think about it later. Yeah. But yeah, your story is powerful because it's the idea that it really does start first with the mentality, right? And then in order to be able to get to where you want to go, if you can't, that's what I was going to say was if you can't, something about if you can't see it, a mind that can see it and believe it, that's the first step in order to achieve it, right? Something to that effect.
Yeah.
But it really does start first with the belief system. And a lot of people struggle with that.
And it's that old thing, like, you can't unsee something.
Yeah.
It's like once you've reached it, it's like you can't just pretend it didn't happen. Like it's there and you can't trick your mind otherwise. So now you believe in it, and then you already found like, okay, this is a success. What is it called? Habits, right? This strategy works. Now you just lean into it.
What were some of the specific habits that you remember, Adam, that helped you have such a big spike that year? What were some things you did differently?
Consistency and really, I don't want to say time blocking because I'm not really good at time blocking. I'm not good at, to me, I'm better at just grinding.
Okay.
If that makes sense. So just walking in every day with a purpose, laying out my day of what I need to achieve within a week. So I'd say I need to make X amount of phone calls, and it wasn't like 400.
Yeah.
I had a database, by the way, of
something you can believe in.
I had a database of 120 people. The thing is that you need to build a wall around those people and make it gold. So I would meet every twice a year. I'd meet with everybody in person for a cup of coffee or beer or something. And that was just a conversation. It wasn't salesy.
Yeah.
It was building that relationship, that trust, because they're going to refer people to me or they're going to sell real estate with me.
For sure.
And that's as simple as it was. And then I would, a few mailers that of importance, things like that.
Is that targeting like specific neighborhoods, or who were you targeting with the mailers?
This is all database. So this
just
is people
your 120. Yeah.
Friends, family, you start with first, coworkers, church, whatever you need, that you start building out those rings. And I learned that sometimes, like, he might kill me, but my brother didn't send me a whole lot of people. So the person that you would think like, oh, he's going to send me because that's my brother, But yet my neighbor, one of my neighbors who maybe we just really don't get along, you don't think of, would send me 2-3 people a year.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So I never really counted anybody out.
You never know who your biggest fan's going to be.
That's right. Or your biggest referral source. You never know. So I just kind of always made it a sense of like, reach out to everybody. Don't be scared. Getting turned away is fine. That's part of the process.
Yeah, no doubt. So, do you remember how many transactions you did that year?
I don't, man.
Okay. I was just curious.
Going a ways
so I'm
back,
sure that would be a big spike, right? Is just seeing that volume number increase, which again, if you're not doing a lot of outside marketing things to try to like invest a ton of resources and money to try to drive that lead flow, to get a spike like that is fairly unusual, right? Like that's really being intentional and focused on how you're really going to work, your core lead list, your core network to make that happen. So I was curious, out of how many of those 120 leads that you're working with actually turned into deals that year.
So not to go to Keller Williams, but I do remember this stat, the MREA book. Yeah. Everybody kind of knows it. There's a stat in there that I think is actually pretty dead on. And I want to say that was 1 out of every 12 people in your sphere of influence will be a deal that year. And then that same amount every year will be a referral. If they're your top tier.
If you're working it.
Referrals, yes.
Yeah.
So if you got to think about that, if you have 100 people, let's just round 12 to 10 for easy math here. 10 people are going to have a deal with you, and then 10 of those are going to refer to you. That's 20 deals in a year.
Totally.
If right now your average is 500,000, just random number here.
Yep.
That's 10 million.
Yeah. Makes sense.
And that's not including
that right there puts you on the knocking on the door of being in the top 500 as a real producer.
There you go. Right. So that's the easiest math that I could tell people. And it's like, you don't need thousands and thousands of leads. It helps, but you're better off having just a strong base.
Yeah, man. That's good stuff.
Growing that. Yeah.
And it just really brings home the power of having that, really digging into your niche, right? And figuring out what your network is, then finding out a way to serve them on a regular basis. Now, I know over the years, you've really built quite a following online, right? Yeah. And so at some point, I guess that became an idea where you were like, all right, I'm really going to do this social media thing, and I'm going to do it right, and I'm going to go after a certain, I guess, would you say YouTube is your favorite platform or one of all of them, or what?
They're different, but it would be the one that's kind of led the way for me, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when did that start? Was it always part of the game plan, or did that happen somehow during the process where you were like, I'm going to start building out this social media thing?
Yeah. What's funny is it's probably even till today, I'm not a huge fan of social media.
Yeah.
I don't put my kids on social media.
Necessary evil, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't put my kids on social media. Right. I don't do a lot of that stuff. So it is kind of like a weird one for me, but kind of what led us there was how I built my business on the sphere of influence. And I still think that that's number one, no matter what, because you never know when somebody, a social media just goes under for some reason, right?
For sure, yeah.
Look at if you built your platform on TikTok, and there's conversations of TikTok might go away, right? So something like that, you never know. But your sphere of influence, nobody will take away from you. So I still think that's the gold mine.
Yep.
But when COVID hit, right, everything shut down. Kids had to come home from school. I couldn't just go out and meet somebody at a coffee shop anymore. So that's where I kind of had to pivot, and I had to say, let me learn a new skill because I'm not going to just stay here and let my career go to nothing. So I actually went online and I said, what kind of leads do I want? Well, I want to attract people. And first thing I found was just the easiest one was Facebook ads. Everybody knows about that. Paid somebody to teach me Facebook ads, did it for 1 month, had like 70 leads and filtered those leads out. And man, it just
all kinds of leads we were talking about off camera.
I was, oh yeah.
from all kinds of sources.
Oh yeah. And so I just felt like I was convincing people to work with me.
Yeah.
It wasn't the same, especially when you come from a background of sphere of influence where you build that relationship.
Yeah.
I was literally cold calling and convincing people. So I immediately shut that down and said, that is not the route I want to go. I never want to cold call anybody. I've never done it. I don't want to. So I was looking for the next thing and came across YouTube where it was like, man, this is a really good long form content where you can get a message to somebody. And I saw a few people around the country, this is back in 2020, January 2020, that were doing kind of like living in videos where it's like living in my city. This is what you need to know. It really attracts the relocation, which obviously as years came on, that kind of exploded. So, you know, I said, well, yeah, that makes sense. Let's talk about the lifestyle. Let's talk about neighborhoods, why you want to move here. Why do you want to live here? And if you're even here, you know, talk about new developments, neighborhoods, things like that. And so just started grinding away and learning that. Instantly.
Did you create a channel right away?
Yeah, right away.
What's it called?
Living in Tampa, Florida. I'm sorry. That's my website. Tampa, Florida Living is my channel.
Tampa, Florida Living. So check it out. Subscribe to Adam's channel. And it sounds like it's just about Tampa Bay living, right? Are you interviewing business owners or what's the genesis of the channel? What do you focus on?
So I want to say it was Gary Vee that kind of taught people like, hey, dude, you know, be the mayor.
Yeah.
And I actually don't believe in that a little bit. And I don't want to say that that's wrong. It's just a hair off from my style.
Yeah.
I don't want to say it's wrong though, because there's 10 different ways.
Everybody's got to find
10 different ways
way
to skin a cat, right? But to me, if I'm interviewing a restaurant owner, that's not helping anybody understand what the life is like here. That's not helping them if they want to move here. That information's not what I'm trying to deliver. Now, what I would do is I would cover that restaurant in maybe a group of restaurants if that's part of that video. So what I mean by that is it might be a video about 10 reasons why you want to live in Tampa, right?
Yeah.
And part of that could be because we're a top foodie city, HubSpot or whatever.
Yeah, no doubt.
Wallet Hub said, hey, we're top food spot. So let's talk about these 10 of my favorite restaurants. You got Burns, you got this, you got that, and you start going through them.
Yeah.
That would make sense.
Okay.
Because now I'm giving them information that's useful and valuable to them. So I'm always thinking, how can I be a valuable resource for whoever's watching this?
So most of your channel, if I'm hearing you correctly, is basically you providing content on just information that you think would be relevant to your audience about the Tampa Bay market, not necessarily interviewing styles of whether it's business owners or whoever, but is it also about like specific neighborhoods, areas that are booming for, a real estate reason, things of that nature? Is that also involved in there?
Yeah. I mean, neighborhoods are definitely part of it. I mean, we cover a lot of new construction. I mean, I'll do a West Chase video or a Carrollwood video, right? But a lot of it is new construction.
Just to spotlight some of the neighborhoods for people who might not be here but are interested in maybe moving, right? Learning what the neighborhood options are, I would think would be kind of cool.
Even people that live here, I know locals probably think like, I'm not living in the suburbs.
Right.
But you'll be surprised at how many people want to live with a new construction out in West Chapel, Land O'Lakes, or something like that, because now they're like, hey, there's traffic. It's a little more congested in the city. Or, I needed the city now, but now I have kids in those master plan communities with those, lagoon pools and things like that. Kind of attract us. So there's a lot of different reasons. And I even get listings from that where it's like, hey, I'm thinking of selling my house in Carrollwood and moving to Starkey Ranch. Or something different. It's like, yeah, no worries.
No, that makes sense.
So again, for me, it's let's focus on showcasing the neighborhoods. When I think about a neighborhood, I'm thinking, if I want to live there, what information do I want? I want to know the home builders or the architecture, the type of home, right? If it's older homes. I want to know what are the things to do, the amenities within the community, as well as the amenities around the community.
Sure.
So if I live there, what's my suburb or area around it, 10-minute drive going to look like? proximity to things like the airport, downtown, work, and then of course, what are the schools looking like? Like that's a really good template for a video. And now you're just going around shooting those videos. But then,
do you have a favorite video that you've done that you think of, or one that's gone viral for you, or anything that's kind of stood out?
I'll tell you, videos go viral sometimes. The ones that you don't think.
You don't even. I know. It's kind of random.
I've poured so much time into like certain
Usually
videos.
It's the ones that you don't put as much time in.
Yep.
Yeah.
I poured so much time into a video, and it just kind of like average.
Right.
And then the one that I was like, oh man, we don't have time. Let's just sling this thing together.
Right.
And I usually don't like doing those.
Yeah.
It just went like 100,000 views, and I'm just like, what? But they do. Now I'm starting to evolve a little bit, so it's a little bit more than neighborhoods. I just interviewed Mayor Jane Castor
you were mentioning
a few weeks ago.
Cool.
And learned a ton about Tampa. If you're interested, local or moving here, we talked about traffic, the different developments, expansion of the trolley system and the Bright Line train. And then, I had to hit her up with crime because she was the old chief of police. We talked about a lot of interesting stuff.
That's cool. How did you end up getting in that interview? Did you reach out to them, or did they reach out to you somehow?
That one, I actually reached out through, old Tampa contacts to make that happen. She
ain't nothing wrong with that. Take advantage of that network.
Yeah, she actually used to do triathlons with my dad.
Oh, cool.
Way back in the day.
Nice.
So that was pretty cool. But from that, I've had other people reach out.
Yeah.
Because again, that's social media.
Yeah, no doubt. We get people reaching out. I was just on a podcast yesterday as an example of someone who sees us on here and wanted to have me on their podcast to talk about, this was up in Pasco County, but to talk about being a good neighbor and working in the community in Pasco County. So you never really know who's listening, who's watching. Yep. You just put out good content and hope that people appreciate it, right?
That's absolutely.
So other than the YouTube thing, I mean, what is your philosophy or strategy on the other social media platforms, the Facebooks, the Instagrams, TikTok? I mean, do you try to work on all of them? Do you really try to focus your energy on YouTube exclusively? What's your approach to that?
Yeah. So YouTube has been my driver that's where I started. And that's been my driver for the first 3 years, right? We're going on kind of year 4. I started 2020 January. So now 2024 is kind of year 4 here first.
Yeah.
Last year, so I'm going to take a step back and answer that. Along the way, I wanted to learn SEO because what I learned from YouTube is, man, you put out valuable content and now you're a magnet. People are calling you. So the leads that call us I'm not chasing them down. They're like, oh my God, I can't believe you answered the phone.
Yeah.
I've been watching you for 6 months. I'm ready to buy a house. Can you help me? Now I need to know the areas because I'm not familiar.
Yeah.
So that's the lead. They're warm, So now I've learned, okay.
What's your cadence, by the way, on your YouTube channel? Do you put out videos every week, every day?
Yeah, one a week.
One video a week. Yep. And you've been doing that since 2020?
Yep. And a few weeks ago, I had COVID. That was the second time in 4 years that I have not posted a video.
Nice.
So consistency is key.
Yeah, that is key. It's huge.
Yeah. Yep. That being said, and lesson learned, you should always have one in the queue. I didn't because I had just it piggybacked right off of vacation, so I was like, oh man. But anyway, that being said, I just learned that being a magnet, attracting those calls is really what I wanted. And I was like, if this works with YouTube, why can't it work with other things? So I built my own website, livingintampaflorida.com. What I did was I created area pages on that website. So I, again, kind of in line with what my YouTube channel was.
Yeah.
I want to be a resource. I don't want to say, oh, I'm number one realtor. For me, it was more like if people come here, how are they going to value what I'm giving them? And so I created a map, and every page is its own blog, but it's really an area page. That same template that I told you about the community, neighborhoods, things to do, schools, is what each page is. And
that's cool.
And they rank as pages on Google organically for free.
Yeah.
So I was like, man, got a website that ranks.
Do you write the blog on all these different areas, or do you have like other people who kind of focus in on an area that they know, or is there anyone else involved?
Yeah. So coming back from the days of my dad being in the kitchen, he's always like, man, you can't fire anybody unless you could take their spot.
Yeah.
And so like, you got to cut onions before you can cook.
Right.
And so it's kind of the same idea is like, I needed to understand how to blog before I could hire somebody to blog. So for the first year I did it myself. And then I did hired my sister. Yeah. Just somebody, hey, you need something? Yeah, let's teach you how to do this. But it really is simple once you have a template.
Sure.
You're not guessing. You just need, hey, I need a topic. and then you pilot in. So once you do that, though, then it starts to rank. And so now I'm having blogs that are ranking, which, by the way, Google owns YouTube.
Yep.
So if you get your YouTube video about a neighborhood or about an area, let's call it Westchase, and then you plug that into the blog about Westchase, they're feeding each other.
They love that. Yep.
Loves it. Right?
Algorithm heaven right there.
Absolutely.
They're going to both promote each other. Yeah.
Absolutely. So now I'm expanding. It's not just YouTube. It's YouTube. It's blogging. It's the website that's ranking. And so I said, okay, this past year I said, well, I told you I didn't love social media, but let's do Instagram. And you know, a lot of people told me, hey, we have not figured out Instagram. Just start posting. Yeah. Consistency. Just post and stay consistent and do reels. Reels get the most reach and all this stuff. And I said, yeah, but every algorithm, every blog, every YouTube has a strategy. It can't just be throw it up. Right. So I reached out to a couple different agents around the country that I saw were successful, more successful than most. And I looked even locally, and I'm like, man, what are some of the successful realtors, people that you've even had on here? What is their reach? And it was like 5,000, 7,000. And I was like, that seems like a pretty good reach. Yeah. So how can I beat that? So my goal was first year, I want to have I wanted to have 5,000 followers by the first 90 days and 20,000 by the end of the year. Okay. I thought that was a really big goal. On Instagram. On Instagram. Yep. So I started really the week of Christmas 2023. So just recently. I started Instagram, and
is the Instagram brand the same brand as
Tampa? Tampa.florida.living. Okay. Somebody already had Tampa, Florida.
The interesting thing too is, like, as you said, Instagram and Facebook are owned by Meta. Yep. And they don't like sending people to other links. They do not. Posting like a YouTube thing on there ain't going to fly very well.
It's not going to work. It has to be its own strategy.
Exactly. Yeah. So you really have to have a separate strategy for it. Yep. But Go on. I interrupted you.
No, you're fine, man. You're fine. So I studied it and chatted with 3 other people. I actually called them up and said, hey, what are you doing? I'll teach you YouTube. You teach me Instagram. So we just kind of talked. And then I put my own spin on it. We're not copying people, but we're also not reinventing the wheel. Sure. Why would you do that? So wanted it to be about the lifestyle here. So I do a weekly things to do every Thursday, things to do on the weekend. Just had one the other day that did 177,000 views. Nice. On things to do.
And these are just short form reels or stories? Yep. Or both?
Yep. Every majority of what I do, like 99%, is reels. Yep. A lot of times I'll get the exact same reel and I'll repost it as a story, but with a poll on it. Just not trying to overwork myself. Yep. But idea there is just posting it every day, 1 reel a day, consistency. And I think we're about to hit probably today 35,000 followers.
Nice, man.
And that was started like 7 months ago.
So the plan is working.
I smoked my goal.
And so you have it set up, I'm assuming, so every time you're posting on Instagram, that reel is also on Facebook, right? Because they're all synced now, I think. So you can have them show up in both places. And
I opened up the Facebook page, and I haven't really put too much.
Is this a business page or a personal?
It's a business page.
Yeah, on both Facebook and on Instagram. Okay.
And now it's all branded through the same thing, Tampa, Florida Living. Yep. What I will say though is that Instagram has surprised me. Coming from the world where I came from, learning YouTube first, I always thought that's going to be the gold mine. And it still is in my mind, because I feel like you can deliver more value with long form content. But with Instagram, it's actually opened more doors locally. So I'm getting a lot of reach outs. Ex-Mayor Bob Buckhorn reached out to me. That was cool. We had coffee. From that conversation, it opened up other doors that we're talking with. Had a lot of local businesses, specifically restaurants, hotels, that we're collabing with now and doing things there. And again, I'm just going from the mindset of, like, if you want to live here, let me help with understanding local businesses, sharing the lifestyle. Some of those reels that we do, if it's not like just a collab.
Quick tech question. When you collaborate with someone, do you generally tag them or use the collaboration option? Do you always do collaboration?
Collaboration option.
Yeah. So you think that's more effective than, because I don't think you can do both, right? You can't tag them and collaborate. I found through Instagram, I think.
I've never tried to do both because I just knew the one I wanted to do.
Gotcha.
But the idea there with collabing with somebody is that you open up to their audience, because it's posted on their page as well, and vice versa. It's kind of a two-way street there.
Versus tagging them, I think they just get notified.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And then they can share if they want, but it's not posted on their page to their audience.
Yep.
So Yeah, collabing is a big deal, and it's like, what an amazing way to like get a bigger reach.
Yep.
And so what I've done, I think, really well with my Instagram page is the entire goal is to get exposure and to grow as fast as possible, all while teasing real estate. So once a week, I'm always doing a home tour. What else? Probably once a week, I'll find an article from the Tampa Bay Business Journal or the Tampa Bay Times, and I'll talk about it. You know, hey, this is what's going on in real estate. This is it. And so those may not be the viral reach, but that's the value add.
Yep.
And so people are like, man, you're getting exposure and you're getting real estate. And I'm always a call to action. You know, DM us, call us.
Yep.
And that's a bonus with Instagram. They can DM you directly. YouTube, they can't.
Yep.
So,
how about YouTube Shorts? Have you done anything with that yet?
So no, I haven't on purpose. If I was gonna do it, and if I was like, people were asking me like, "Hey, what would you do?" I would create a separate channel for YouTube Shorts.
Okay.
My reasoning is that I know one of the metrics on YouTube is that average view duration, right? Whenever your channel is looking at like short form versus long form, that's two different things. It's actually two different audiences in a way.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And so I don't want to.
So that short form, actually, you're saying can actually hurt the overall ranking or the success of the channel?
Just my opinion. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's not tested.
Yeah.
But just my opinion. I don't want to mess with what's already working.
Yep.
I would almost just do an entirely separate channel. And if it's like, hey guys, if you want to look at our long form, go over to our other channel, you know, and send them over.
I'd be curious to think, I mean, you are creating short form content on Instagram with all your real content, which is basically the same thing, right, as the YouTube shorts. So, I mean, you can literally take that same content, have a separate channel on YouTube and have it just be shorts, just to test and see what would happen.
Oh yeah, I think you could do that. But again, I wouldn't want to put it on my main channel because it's different.
Changes the duration of the views.
Yeah, and I'll tell you like some of that mindset where it comes from. I actually have 2 YouTube channels. One of them was more of a test. It did really well. I'm just kind of not positive I'm going to keep going with it, but it's New Homes Tampa, Florida.
Okay.
And it was strictly a new construction home tour channel. Okay. I built it up really quickly to about 14, almost 1,500 followers.
Nice.
But what I learned is that after studying this is you can't post new home tours on the same type of channel that I have, a lifestyle channel. It doesn't, they're two different audiences. And you would think, well, how come they're not the same audience? It's like, well, somebody watching a home tour specifically might not be interested in the lifestyle per se. Reason I'm saying that is on the lifestyle channel, I tell a lot of stories and I open it up with, you know, me talking. I just set the tone.
Yeah.
On the home tour channel, in the first 30 seconds, people would jump off, and I'm talking 50% would jump off if I talk more than 15 seconds. They want to see the house.
They just want to see the house.
It's not about me.
Yeah.
So that being said, if you were to blend those two on the same channel, they're two different audiences.
Yeah.
Some overlap, but they're two different ones, and that's going to confuse the hell out of the algorithm.
Yeah.
So
no, it's smart. I hope this is, I'm learning a lot just talking you through it. And, you know, we've been doing a lot of stuff, obviously, with this podcast and other event content on YouTube. And so I've been trying to dive in and learn as much as I can too about the YouTube algorithms and how to properly structure things. So I think what I hope the audience is taking away is the importance of just having a plan, you know, having a strategy revolving around these social media platforms. Even if you're not a huge social media fan, like Adam said he's not, the idea that it's a necessary evil, right, in today's world, to at least have a strategy behind how you're going to use it, you know? And if to ignore all that, I think from a business sense, is pretty naive when you think about the amount of eyeballs and the visibility that's there. If you can just do it right, who knows what the possibilities are, you know, for your business. And so, great stuff, man. I appreciate you sharing what you have so far on the social media takeaways and the stuff you continue to learn. I'll have to keep picking your brain on that, I guess, and start following you around to see what I can steal from Adam and his YouTube genius. But you now are a team leader. With EXP, we were talking about that a little bit as well. So when did that transition happen? And, you know, the desire for you to start building an organization and building a team rather than just going into self-production. I want to talk a little bit about that. And then I'll kind of revisit some of the social media stuff because I'd like to hear more about how the social media stuff is also helping the team growth, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But why don't you touch on that for a second?
Yeah, so, I mean, it got to the point, 2020, that, you know, I would say in the first 6 months already, I was getting leads, and I was like, whoa, this is getting, you know, this is working.
Yeah.
And coming from a place where sphere of influence, now I'm trying to juggle both. But essentially, I was creating content every week, which is time consuming in itself. Then I was getting new calls that I was having to service leads coming in. Then I was out showing homes.
Yeah.
And then still going to inspections, closings, and everything that every realtor has to do. So a lot of juggling there.
Mm-hmm.
On top of family time, I have two daughters. So a lot of it was getting busy. And 2020, we did 11 million from YouTube alone, which was like insane.
It's a solid source.
That's a big jump. And I was like, whoa, this is really working. And by the way, when you think about that pipeline, that growth, anytime you do organic content, it snowballs.
Yeah.
So when at the end of that year, it was way bigger than it was at the beginning. So it was like, I'm full steam ahead, and it's still snowballing. It's still growing. Yeah. So I think, how can I handle this? I was getting burnt out. And I said, let me hire another agent. So instantly I was like, I need to, get a partner, basically. Let them do the real estate. I'll start focusing more on the marketing as well as the real estate.
Mm-hmm.
From that, 2021 kind of kicked in, had 2 agents.
That was a big year for a lot of people.
Yes. Oh, and all that. You can imagine how crazy it was, right?
Mm-hmm.
And had to hire an admin. The admin helped basically kind of like an ISA, because again, we're not, an ISA of like service. We're not calling from a sales perspective.
Right.
We are literally taking inbound calls left and right every day at that point.
Yep.
And servicing them, and then saying, okay, let me get you with an agent. And then the agent takes it. Mm-hmm. But we did 28 million the next year.
Mm-hmm. Was that your best year?
No. So again, it's snowballs.
This year. Are you on pace for your best year this year?
So far.
I think you said around 50. Is that right?
Yeah. We're shooting for about 50 right now. We did 46 million in production last year.
Okay.
Which again, it's just 11, 28, boom. It just keeps going up.
Yeah, man.
So this year we're at midpoint. We're looking like we'll probably get to 50 or a little bit more.
A lot of people, even people I've had on this show, struggled last year. It was a down year for a lot of different, big name brands and big name teams. And so to see that you've had this consistent growth, I think it really does speak to the power of building the network. And you started it with your own network, even if it was the old school methods, but then you elaborated on that with all the stuff you've been doing on social media, but it's still all about building that network. And that's what makes you bulletproof,
Yeah. I have seen a little bit of a slowdown this year, not the leads. Mm-hmm. So the leads are still coming in the same way.
Conversion's different.
It's just, the market is slowing, and it's not slowing. It's just hesitation to pull the trigger. And not to get into, what the market's going to do, but I do think it's temporary. And there is absolutely, I think the best plan right now is build that pipeline, because you don't know what it's going to look like on the backside.
Yep.
And so, I'm just still going, and it's still producing. We're still growing, just maybe a slower clip this year.
Yep.
Which is it's still healthy. But to answer
so you're no longer in production now, you were saying before, right?
I was about to tell you that.
Go ahead.
So after we went to this, and you could see how I added agents, the number one thing I decided to do after actually talking to a few other agents around the country in my same position was I said, man, get out of production. Mm-hmm. I said, what does that look like? Mm-hmm. Like, well, you start focusing on the marketing side, and you're basically partnered up with everybody on your team as they're selling the real estate. Mm-hmm. So that gives you more time. And it is tough at first, because it's like, well, they do it as good as I do it, that mentality. And it takes you a little bit to really step back and trust them and build that culture on your team. And now everybody's winning, man. And it's absolutely phenomenal. I had to find the right people that wanted to sell real estate.
I feel like we could do a whole podcast on just that. Like finding the right people. We'll have to have you back a second time to dive into that a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because that's a big challenge for a lot of team leaders, and they go through a lot of learning curves and then a lot of pain in trying to make that work.
Yeah.
But gratefully, it sounds like you've had some good traction in finding some of the right people.
Yeah, and it's really been a life changer, man. It's really opened up, where I was bogged down selling this stuff, and I love real estate, so it's hard to let that go. But now my focus is more on the marketing side, and taking those shackles off of juggling everything. It just allowed you to focus even more and add on things like blogging and website building and Instagram and whatever the next step may be.
No doubt.
To really help function as a team. And I know my role on the team, which is producing leads. And
so the majority of your leads, are they still coming through social media?
Yeah, 98%.
Are they really?
It's coming all from social media.
That's
about
awesome.
50 million a year.
Very strong.
Yeah.
Good stuff. So a couple quick questions here on the personal side for people just to get to know you a little bit as we wrap up here for a few minutes we have left. you mentioned earlier you're married with 2 daughters.
Yep.
How old are they now?
9 and 5.
Okay, so you're pretty busy with what, dance classes and other softball, or what are they into?
Yeah, competitive soccer. My
There you go.
9-year-old's competitive soccer, so that's like 3 days a week, and then games on weekends and traveling. So
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I have 3 daughters and 2 boys. We have 5 kids at home, and my boys are really into baseball, and my daughters are really into dance. And so our weekends are pretty tied up for sure. A lot going on, but it's a blessing.
I
for
will
sure.
say that tagging off of everything we just talked about, though, one of the best things for my life that has changed is that we were my wife and I love traveling.
Yeah.
Even to the point where I took my daughter to Ireland when she was 2.
Nice.
8 nights and just did all that. And it just became a thing where every year we were doing trips. We average about 8 to 9 trips a year right now,
Awesome.
Including a summer trip, which is between 2.5 to 3 weeks every summer for the last 3 years. And I can do that, and our business doesn't stop.
That's cool.
The machine still goes, so that's awesome.
Do you have a favorite place to go?
Man, we just did Yellowstone for 3 weeks.
Nice.
And that was awesome.
Just had somebody talking to me about that, about how cool it would be to take the kids over there, because I haven't been there yet with the family.
Talking about unplugging, we rented an RV and just went for like 2.5 weeks.
That's cool.
And that was really neat. We had a Spain trip booked this year, but we had to pivot. We went to Upper Michigan, Upper Peninsula.
A little bit different.
Cool. A little bit different. But
I'll have to pick your brain on. I've been talking to my wife about wanting to do just that, renting an RV, traveling throughout the country, and like at least a month or so in the summer. You know?
Post COVID, 2021, 2020 and 2021, we bought an RV.
Okay.
And a lot of times people didn't realize that I was actually shooting a video with a green screen in an RV, because we were just like, let's just go for 2.5 weeks. Everything's shut down, so RVing, you can explore anywhere. We went all the way to Tennessee and back, and I was shooting videos in my RV.
That's cool. So you still have that RV, or you now just rent them when you take your trips?
We just rent them now. Yeah, I sold it just like real estate. I saw the market shifting. I was like, I'm not losing money. So we sold it.
Spoken like a real entrepreneur. Couple rapid fire questions. Do you have a favorite book or author or seminar that has ever made a huge impact on you personally or professionally?
Yeah, sadly, I'm a movie guy, so the book's probably not. I've read maybe 2 real estate books, which is MREA and The One Thing.
Okay.
Which, again,
I've read them both good.
Yeah, I think if anything, it just goes back to the mindset. I did see Ed Milet talk, and he was pretty motivational. Yeah. There's a couple good guys out there that I like to watch, but I mean, to be honest with you, it's just the grind, man. And I always feel like never be scared to learn from somebody, even if it's not the route you're going to take.
No doubt. And you can always learn from somebody if you're looking for something to actually learn, and you're not closed-minded about it. Yep. You said you're a movie guy. Do you have a favorite movie? Sadly, no. Just like a ton of them, huh?
Yeah, everything from rom-coms to thrillers, man.
Gotcha.
It's sad.
So that's your idea of a good night, just hanging out at the house with your wife and get the movie on and relax and chill at the house, huh? Netflix and chill?
Yeah, we'll do that. With kids, it's not always, you don't go out as often. I would say travel's a big part of our stuff. We do talk business and investing, my wife and I, a lot.
You a real estate investor?
A little bit. Okay. We're big on... honestly, living in our own flips. So we've had 5 houses now that we've lived in and take advantage of the capital gains on the back end. But going out to dinner, man, coming from a restaurant background, love food. And lately, it's not even that. It's going out and cooking good food.
Nice.
Go to Wild Fork. I'm not giving them a plug. I'm just telling you. Go to Wild Fork. They've got some like American Wagyu steaks and things like that.
Here we go. So you're a grill master at the house?
Oh, yeah. We throw down at home. Oh, yeah.
Where do you live? Tampa? Or?
Yeah, Tampa. I live off the river. I've moved around because obviously we lived in Cheval. My mom at one point lived in one of the first home buyers in West Chase. Cool. Now she's in Carrollwood Village.
Nice.
And side note is, split family, not to go into that, but my dad, we had 14 acres in Dade City. So we had horses and acreage, even though our business was in Ybor. And till this day,
commute.
Yeah, till this day, we still have, well, not back then.
Right.
There's no traffic.
Right.
There was a Waffle House.
Right.
And Wesley Chapel was a Waffle House and a Blockbuster.
Little different today.
Yeah, but we actually have off of I-4, McIntosh Road, we have 400 acres with cattle.
Wow.
So
that's awesome.
People don't realize that Tampa's that versatile where I'm like, man, you
don't have to go that far to find land.
20 minutes this way, you've got cattle.
Yeah.
20, 30 minutes that way, you got beach.
Yeah.
You got a great cosmopolitan city now.
That's cool.
It's kind of neat. So yeah,
it is, man. It is. We're running out of time, but I'm enjoying our conversation. I feel like I have other questions that I can ask you about that too. But well, again, we'll have to have you back sometime. Last question I have for you, Adam, is and this is kind of our what I call the legacy question. So when you think about that day when you're sitting on the rocking chair years from now, and you're thinking back to what you think you want to be most remembered for, what do you think what would be most important to you in terms of your legacy and what you'd want to be most remembered for?
Just in life.
Yeah, could be personal or professional.
Man, that guy had fun with everything he did. That's a quick one.
Yeah.
Just having fun, having people around you, always enjoying whatever it is you're doing in life. Even in real estate. We're selling real estate, let's have fun with it.
No doubt.
We're traveling, let's have fun with it. I mean, it's too easy to enjoy where you live, your life, and having fun, especially when you're healthy.
You only live once, right? Like you said, as long as you have your health, then you should. Problems can only be so much, right? You got to be able to accept the good things. For people who might want to get a hold of you, pick your brain a little bit more, maybe on your YouTube philosophies or any sort of social media things. We dove into a little bit of that today, and I think you have a lot of wisdom to share there. What's the best way for someone to reach you?
Yeah, I'd love to throw out my cell phone, but I'm going to make it a little bit harder for you. Go to my YouTube or my Instagram. My cell phone is on that. Or you could DM me through Instagram. You can email us. All of my information is on YouTube, Instagram. It's Tampa, Florida Living for both of those.
Very cool. Yep. Well, thanks for being here today, Adam. This was a great conversation. If you don't already subscribe to our podcast, you can click the button. That way you're notified every time that we drop a new episode, which of course is every week. Every Friday, you can see the types of conversations that we just had here with Adam. And we're going to end the episode the way we always do, which is with a challenge to the audience. Anybody who's watching live through Facebook, YouTube, any of our streaming platforms, or you're listening on any of your favorite podcast platforms, what is one action step that you can take today that's going to help propel you forward personally or professionally based on this conversation that you heard today from Adam? Maybe you're somebody who really needs to step up your YouTube game and you've seen some of the results that Adam talked about. Maybe it's just studying that more, getting a little bit deeper into it, having a conversation with someone like Adam who's actually made it happen. You heard Adam talk about how he reached out to other people that were crushing it in Instagram. Maybe you need to do that, right? Through Instagram or what other platform you want to see yourself grow in, or just possibly building a team like Adam also talked about because you really want to change your lifestyle and make some changes there. But what is it going to be for you? Just one thing. Identify something that you can make a change for, that you can take action on. That way the time that you invested in listening to this and watching this is going to be worth it, so you can move forward in a positive direction. We'll see you, of course, on the next episode of the Tampa Bay Real Producers podcast, powered by Top Producers Nation. We'll see you later.
So my name is Jason McIntosh. I'm the team leader of the McIntosh Group out of Remax Alliance Group, based out of here in South Tampa. I came here today to talk about my journey as a rising star, taking my team from their first calendar year and doing 200 units and grossing over $1 million in commission with about $50 million worth of volume. So I came here today to share my story with others, hoping to inspire them and hoping them to take a piece or nugget out of what made me successful or helped me to help them grow their business. That's a great question, because I don't care who you are, if you've been in for 2 months or 20 years, you can always learn from somebody at any level. So coming to these things is very important. I learned something from each one of the other panelists, things that I will definitely take and apply to my business. So I think it's really good to learn from your colleagues and your peers, no matter how long they've been in the business or what their experience level. So coming to events like this is really taking about an hour to 2 hours out of your business to hopefully save you a lot of time in the future to help you develop your business and to hone your craft. Because you might be out there making mistakes, you may not realize you're making mistakes. So there could be little tidbits and pieces that will help you advance your business and save you time, save you money, and save you hassle. So you gotta always hone your craft, and what better way to learn is from your peers and your colleagues.